there was absolutely no proof. There was no airstrike. There was absolutely nothing. Even the videos that circulated online show an explosion from the ground up, not from the sky. There is absolutely no proof. Unfortunately, the media seemed to be gullible enough just to immediately assume that it was Israel. Unfortunately, we need to do some serious fact-checking and not believe one word a terrorist organization that is willing to butcher babies in their beds that they say.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit more about this air, land and sea offensive which is planned?
Absolutely. The IDF is embarked on an assault on Hamas. It's the terrorist organization that butchered babies in their bedrooms and families in their houses. The government instructed us to destroy Hamas's capabilities, the institutions, the leadership from Yahya Sinwar, who is the mastermind of the massacre, the man that funded, organized, and orchestrated the whole system of the Hamas institutions in order to support the Gaza terrorist effort. And they indeed were conducted the strike, the terrorist attack the Saturday before last, on the 7th of October, butchering over 1,300 Israelis and abducting over 120 into the Gaza Strip. And what we are currently doing is seeking to destroy Hamas's capabilities so that they will never, ever be permitted again to threaten Israel.
Questions being asked this morning about why civilians who were following the Israelis' warning to move from the north of Gaza to the south, why they were fleeing in Israeli-designated safe routes, and yet they were killed in an airstrike that many people are saying was an Israeli airstrike. How could that happen?
It didn't happen by the IDF, by the Israeli Air Force. We have, over the last 24 hours, we've confirmed that was not an IDF strike. It just goes to show that we need to be very, very cautious of anything that Hamas is saying. They've perhaps launched rockets that have misfired into Gaza. They've placed booby traps throughout the Gaza Strip. And they have proven time and time again that they have no regard for any human lives, Israeli or Palestinian. If they put rockets in the basements of houses, or drones with explosives on the rooftops, or exploit medical locations, hospitals, schools, and other places, it just goes to show that they are willing to sacrifice everybody to pursue their cause. We won't let that happen, and we won't be blamed for actions that they are conducting against their own people.
So you're saying that it wasn't an IDF, it wasn't an Israeli airstrike. You're blaming Hamas. Have you got evidence for that?
They got evidence that it was the IDF. There was absolutely no proof. There was no airstrike. There was absolutely nothing. Even the videos that circulated online show an explosion from the ground up, not from the sky. There is absolutely no proof. Unfortunately, the media seemed to be gullible enough just to immediately assume that it was Israel. Unfortunately, we need to do some serious fact-checking and not believe one word a terrorist organization that is willing to butcher babies in their beds that they say.
There's a new safe route which is opening now for 3 hours, that the Israelis are opening for 3 hours to enable more civilians to get to the south of the country. I mean, the UN and aid groups have said such a rapid exodus is impossible and could even constitute a war crime under Geneva Conventions. How do you respond to that?
Well, of course, the IDF is operating in order to differentiate and distinguish between terrorists and non-combatants. Our call for people to evacuate the area where Hamas has embedded itself and built its fortress of terrorism is precisely that. So people need to listen, and we're very happy that people are actually listening to us and not listening to Hamas. As I said, we expect that they booby-trapped or misfired into that convoy yesterday, but we've also seen physical checkpoints that they've tried to block people. We've distributed aerial photographs proving as such. So, as I said, they have very little regard for human life. They themselves are hiding beneath the ground, and they're willing to sacrifice the people. Our goal is Hamas, to destroy Hamas's capabilities, to remove them from governing the Gaza Strip as a staging ground for attacks and terrorism against our people. 1,300 people were butchered on the 7th of October. There are around 200 funerals a day. There are still people unaccounted for. This terrorist organization needs to be banished from the realm of existence.
So, in light of the horrors which Israeli people have had to endure over the last week, and particularly last Saturday, how do you feel when the UN and aid groups are saying that the actions by your government, could potentially constitute a war crime?
The IDF operates within the realm of the laws of armed conflict and international humanitarian law. As a professional military, those are our guidelines, those are our ethics, and indeed, the actions of war in urban zones come with a whole set of challenges. And that's precisely why we distribute flyers to announce we're coming. We send text messages to people to evacuate houses. We send messages to evacuate houses. Hamas puts drones with explosives on the roofs of houses. That's the difference between the two parties, if you want to make a comparison. So I would say, the United Nations, we respect, and we have ongoing deliberations with them. We are determined to destroy Hamas and remove the threat of Hamas's death machine on our people.
The UN relief agency, UNRWA, has said in a statement that it has shelters in the northern part of the territory that aren't safe anymore. They're calling it unprecedented. They also say that many people, including pregnant women, children and elderly people and those with disabilities, will not be able to flee the northern part of Gaza. They quote, and I'll just read this to you, "Wars have rules. Civilians, hospitals, schools, clinics and UN premises cannot be a target." Can you guarantee that none of those sites mentioned there by the UN aid agency will be targeted in Gaza?
So when they say unprecedented is 1,300 people butchered in a massacre. That is also unprecedented here in Israel. So when we listen to our colleagues in the various different humanitarian organizations, we're telling them, you need to evacuate this area. The call for evacuation is absolutely within the realm of international law and the laws of armed conflict, and they need to listen. The civilians are not the target. Our enemy is Hamas. Our enemy are not the people of Gaza. But yes, Hamas has deeply embedded itself within the civilian arena, jeopardizing intentionally the people of Gaza. They have failed the people of Gaza miserably, and this is the unfortunate situation, and the people in Gaza are definitely paying the price for their decision. They decided to embark on a war with Israel. They decided to butcher men, women, and children. When they breached our fence in a coordinated onslaught into our communities, they signed their own death warrants as an organization. This is where we are. The people are not our enemy. The organization that has subordinated and utilized all the tools of its government to create this death machine has put the people at risk. Our job as we embark on destroying the Hamas terrorist organization is against that organization, not against the people. The international organizations operating in Gaza Strip need to understand that there is going to be a major paradigm shift at the end of this. And they need to realize that if they want to help safeguard the people, they need to not object to calls to evacuate, but they need to assist.
So just to be clear, it's so important to have clarity, isn't it, in these situations? Are you saying that civilians, hospitals, schools, clinics and UN premises will not be targeted in any offensive within Gaza?
We operate within the realm of the laws of armed conflict. So we do not target civilians. But on the same tone, I would say people need to listen to the call for evacuation for their own safety. That is the call. That is why we are asking people to leave, for their own safety. There are going to be hostilities. There is going to be more strikes. There are going to be more activities. There may even be a ground operation. And that comes with consequences for the people.
So there's no guarantee.
They have any regard, if these organizations have any regard for human life, they need to do the best to remove them from that area that we're calling from, not object to it, because they, in their action, are actually putting more people at risk. They are, in effect, they're aligning with Hamas that also called for people not to evacuate.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm grateful to you.
Good day.
That is Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, who is a spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces.